Y'all, before I get into this word that the Lord gave me last night and then confirmed it with a dream, there's a couple things I want to address. Okay. One, as always, this should be something that God has been speaking to you about. This should just serve as confirmation. And two, because anytime I talk about restoration, people come into the comments and they'll say things like, I've heard this so many times. I don't know, like basically just saying like they hear it, but they're not really receiving it because they've gotten it before and they haven't seen the fruition of it. And while I do understand that genuinely, okay, need I remind you guys that the first word I got about restoration from God was back in August, 6 months ago. 6 months ago, okay? And I haven't seen the fruition of the things that God has been speaking of yet. Also, y'all, there are things that God speaks that are right now words, and there are things that God speaks that are of what's to come, okay? And there are plenty of testimonies out there. People will tell you that, for example, in 2020, God gave them a word about their life, about what was to come for them, and it did not come to pass until, 2, 3, 4 years later, what have you. So when God speaks things, they shall come to pass. We just don't know when. But I told you guys before, even though God's first word regarding restoration to me was given to me back in August, lately, since December up until February, it's been more consistent, it's been more often, which lets me know that the restoration is like right there, okay? Anyway, let me go ahead and get into this, y'all. So around 4 something this morning, the Lord woke me up, okay? And normally when that happens, I always pray, or I try to pray. Sometimes I don't really make much sense of what I'm praying about because I'm half asleep. But this morning I do have some recollection of what I was praying about. And as soon as I was done, the Lord told me, and I quote, I am restoring all that the locusts have ate, okay? I'm not going to get into the rest of what he said. Well, I will say this part. He is sending the locusts and the cankerworms to, if you are a stander, right, the wayward spouse, the rebellious spouse, the one in their free will, he's sending the locusts and the cankerworms to them. This can also be anybody in your family, anybody who has mocked you, or an enemy of yours. God is sending the locust and the cankerworm to them. And y'all know the video I dropped, I think it was yesterday, or no, it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before yesterday, where the Lord gave me the word when I was reading in 2 Chronicles about how he was going to be humbling. This is a part of that process, okay? When the Lord sends locusts, he is stripping. That locust is an analogy or what have you for the stripping of things, okay? Locusts are, detrimental to agriculture, right? Agriculture, okay? Like they eat stuff and it destroys crops, okay? So the locust in this sense is he is taking away he is stripping things away from them, okay? A lot of you guys, especially specifically regarding the wayward spouse, the rebellious spouse, or what have you, they have essentially been living their best life, right? Like that's the way it looks, and God allowed this to happen. But now the tables are turning. Now the shift is happening to where God is restoring all that the locust ate from you. Now, mind you, this is the same locust that God sent. Okay, just like it tells you in Joel 2:25 when he says he's going to restore, but he tells you at the end of that, the locust that I sent to you. Okay, so the stripping that you went through, now they're going to have to go through. Anyway, so in the dream, y'all, I was getting insurance for, okay, let me back up. One of the guys in my dream, he was a guy I went to high school with, and he wanted motorcycle insurance for his motorcycle. Okay, now insurance from like I won't even say from a biblical standpoint, insurance generally is guaranteed compensation when it comes to a loss. So y'all following me, okay? So, but he wanted me to call. He said, I want you to call and you get it set up and I'll pay for it, right? So I called. They quoted me $6.99 per month. I don't know what insurance is cheap like that, but anyway. But so they quoted me $6.99 per month, but he only sent me $6.97. Okay, so I had to cover the 2 extra cents. So $6.99 in the Strongs means pleasing, desire to please, pleasing, willing service, right? Like you have been pleasing to the Lord. Good job, or well done, my good and faithful servant, right? That's something else that he spoke to me last night. So you have been pleasing to the Lord. You have been in a right position, right? Like blameless, pure, and pure and righteous within his sight. $6.97. What does that say, y'all? Locust. Okay, and that just confirms what the Lord had told me. The locust, he's restoring the locust, what the locust ate from you, but he is sending the locust to your enemies, to, if you're the stander, your God ordained spouse, which would be the wayward, rebellious, disobedient one. So I'm gonna be pulling this from Joel chapter 1 and chapter 2, of course. I know y'all, everybody's very, very familiar with Joel chapter 2, but let's not go past Joel chapter 1 where he's talking about sending the locust, okay? And I'm just gonna start off verse 15, okay? Alas, for that day, for the day of the Lord is near. Now, when we talk about the day of the Lord being near, we are not talking about a joyous time. This will not be a joyous time for them, okay? It will come like destruction from the Almighty. Come on now. Has not the food been cut off before our very eyes? Joy and gladness from the house of our God. The seeds are shriveled beneath the clods. The storehouses are in ruins. The granaries have been broken down. For the grain has dried up, how the cattle moan, the herds mill about because they have no pasture, even the flocks of sheep are suffering. To you, O Lord, I call, for fire has devoured the open pastures, and flames have burned up all the trees of the field. Even the wild animals pant for you, the streams of water have dried up, and fire has devoured the open pasture. And again, y'all, in modern day terms, when it comes to locusts, okay, this is a stripping of things, right? God is stripping them of things. This could be financial, in their homes, their vehicles, their jobs, whatever it is that God wants to do, whatever type of locust that God is sending, it shall be done. Now, when it comes to you, okay, as if this word is for you, right? Joel 2:25, again, I know everybody knows this. I will repay you for the years the locusts have eaten, the great locust and the young locust, the other locust and the locust swarm, my great army that I sent among you, okay? You will have plenty to eat until you are full, and you will praise the name of the Lord your God, who has worked wonders for you. Never again will my people be shamed. Then you will know that I am in Israel, that I am the Lord your God, and there is no other. Never again will my people be shamed. Now, I know everybody's story and situation is different, right? But you got to look, we all have some type of similarity, okay? We all have been stripped of something. You know, people have looked at us like we were crazy for following the Lord. You know, some of us have lost our jobs, or God has told us to quit our jobs. Our finances have been stripped. Like my car was totaled. You know what I'm saying? Like, these things have happened. This is a refinement process. This is a chastisement, a judgment in some cases. But God is a restorer. Just like it's talking about in Joel, and even when you go further back with Jeremiah, all the major and minor prophets, when God was saying, I am going to send, or you guys are going to go into captivity. You're going to be held in captivity for 70 years by Babylon. That's your judgment. But at the end of that 70 years, I am going to restore you. So yes, God sends his locust. He sends his judgment. He does his chastisement and his discipline because he's our father, but he also restores. But yeah, y'all, so that's the word. That was my dream. That's what the Lord spoke to me and then confirmed to me via a dream. I love when he does that. Again, y'all, this should be, of course, something that God has already been speaking to you. This should be just serving as further confirmation, okay? You tired of hearing about restoration words? Whatever. You know, I take that up with God. Don't come in the comment section talking about it, y'all, because the Lord, like I said, the Lord been talking about restoration to me specifically for the last 6 months, okay? And I believe and receive it every single time he tells me, because I know my God is a man of his word.